Steve and Michelle.
It's Michelle here. Welcome back to Mallet and Michelle. We're officially hit that time of year where stepping outside feels like an oven. It's not global warming, folks. It's a Texas summer.
That's a Texas summer through and through. Yeah, if this is your first year here, buckle up because it's going to get hot.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good.
How was your Mother's Day?
It was very lonely. I did not have any children around me.
Oh.
But I went to Matt's El Rancho the day before with my son, and I was with my daughter. I had to leave for her last week. Oh, I saw Dennis Quaid at Matt's El Rancho.
Yeah, you showed me a picture. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't mind that.
No. I know. He asked for my autograph. It was.
Yeah. I saw something interesting the other day. Your granddaughter's name is Navy.
Yes.
For all of our
Yes.
loyal listeners, they know that. Do you know what the two most common names have been in the last 4 years in the United States?
Oh.
According to the Social Security Administration?
Something. McKenna?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Ashley.
Nope.
Oh, what is it?
These are the two most common new names in the last 4 years. Olivia and Liam.
Oh.
I mean, they're great names,
Yeah.
right? But I was like, I don't know who's naming their kids that right now. Apparently, somebody told me the other day the most common names in the whole world are Muhammad and Maria. Those are the two most common names. And Steve. Yeah, that's right.
And Steve.
Hey, we got to thank our sponsors. Couldn't do the show without all these wonderful sponsors.
Jovi Belterra.
If you want to be in a 55-plus community, you got to go talk to Marilyn over there. She'll set you up.
That's right. How about South Star Bank, Steve?
Love those guys. We had that networking party there last week.
Oh, yeah.
That was so fun. They're awesome. What a great community
the
bank.
caterer, Dana, which we love.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to give Dana a plug-in.
Yeah.
And then we got the little old real estate team, Mallet Integrity Team.
And I had a note here that I can't read. So, sell your real estate and get free counseling. All on Mallet Integrity Team. It's that kind of market, isn't it? It's like everybody needs a little hug now and then. It's been tough.
Everybody needs a little hug sometimes.
Yeah. Hey, our guest today, Alice Hutchison.
She is a cool cat.
She's an author in ninth grade.
I know.
She's already published a book in ninth grade. So I'm looking forward to getting her on.
I'm working on my book, too. I am.
Shit Steve says?
Yeah, shit Steve says.
Yeah, right. I wanted to give a shout out to the Dripping Springs Art League.
Oh,
the
you
art
guys
fair.
had a great time this
And
weekend.
it was awesome. Yeah, I think they're going to do it. They're going to take a break from over the summer because it's too hot. But they're going to start doing these art markets on a regular basis. And they have vendors set up, and then they have artists will actually do their art right there at the Triangle here in Dripping Springs.
We are sponsors of one of the sponsors.
Yeah, both Mallet and Michelle and Dripping Springs Elite.
Yes.
So, but the Friedmans who have been on our podcast are wonderful people, and they set that all up. We got to watch stained glass being made, and then there was a guy that does metal art, and he was getting set up for that right before we left. But it was really fun. So next time you get a chance to go, you have to head out there.
Well,
I think we spent about $300.
I will have to volunteer. It took me 5 hours to drive back from Dallas.
Oh,
it was
God.
awful.
I hate going to Dallas. That is the worst drive.
Well, I've been to Dallas back and forth 2 times within the last week. So, yeah, that was good fun. Yeah.
And it was kind of an emergency.
Yeah, so
have you heard about this new community that's being planned up in the
Dallas?
northeast of Plano?
Mm-hmm.
It's called Epic City.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's been in the news quite a bit. Yeah, and it's called the Epic City, and Epic stands for the East Plano Islamic Center. That's what the developer has named it. It's proposed in Collin County, east of Plano. And the project stirred up some controversy amongst supporters and critics. So the plan is to build 1,000 homes, a K-12 faith-based school, a mosque, apartments, shops, and a community college. So critics who have included John Cornyn, Governor Abbott, and Ken Paxton have said the community will never see the light of day, and that the community will discriminate against anyone that is not Muslim. So it's I mean,
that goes against the fair housing laws.
Well, it
right?
does, yeah. There are some unconfirmed reports that the community plans to follow Sharia law. I haven't seen. I've looked in the news. I looked in the news. It doesn't mean it's not true, but I could not find any reports that anybody representing the developer and the people backing this said that that would be the case.
Oh, well, are they going to say it out in the open?
Well, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But supporters say that the project, they have no plans to discriminate and that the objections are no more than tired Islamophobia, and they're not going to be breaking any laws. So, but Ken Paxton's launched an investigation, and Governor Abbott said the proposed community will never see the light of day. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens up there. I think this has actually happened in other states where they have communities and they do have Sharia law. I think Michigan is one of those places. So
do not intersections, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of interesting to follow that. And you're right. You can't build a community and then only allow certain people that follow certain rules to live there. It has to be open to anybody. So even if they will allow everybody to live in there, are they really going to be welcome when you get down to it?
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But right now, the developer is saying none of the things that are in the news are true, and that they're refuting everything. So we'll see.
I'm sure they are. You know, speaking of at different areas, you have gone to a lot of national parks.
I have.
And I know you don't have TikTok, but you also have social media, but you're not really on social media anymore.
I have avoided TikTok like the plague.
These national parks have basically gone feral, and I'm here for it. Let me tell you, Yellowstone, Alaska, Yosemite, Joshua Tree, Mount Hood, their social media have been taken over by this marketing creative genius, and the surge in interest is helping what they say the younger Coachella crowd connect with nature. But the content is this. It's basically thirst traps, Justin Timberlake dances, beefcakes, rap songs, guys with tats and no shirts, hot girl walks, and what I packed for Yellowstone. But what it has done,
I have a headache.
1.5 billion views over the last couple of weeks and climbing.
But is that good for national parks?
Wow. You know, it's bringing awareness. The critics say potentially, or also some of the park rangers and longtime nature lovers are concerned with the Disneyfication of protected land and photo ops for TikTok dances. But some of the funny things I saw was, why is my mom interested in a family vacay to the mountains all of a sudden? And when funding is cut, but Yellowstone has got bills to pay.
Oh my God.
So I think that the things, what they're doing, it's actually really creative. It's really funny, a lot of things. It's like one of them, there's this guy, he takes his shirt off and he takes an axe and he breaks apart a log, and then right when he hits it, it goes to like a creek in Yellowstone. I don't know. It's whatever they're doing is working. I think nature's never looked so aesthetically pleasing in some sense, but it has really brought the younger crowd. Think about it, because the younger
I'm very mixed here right now.
The Gen Z crowd is all about the clicks and the likes and, you know, the Grease and the Turks and Caicos and whatever is, you know, the latest fad. To be able to pull awareness back to nature and to unplug, they may be going about it in a weird way, but maybe it's bringing some awareness.
Well, a couple things. One of the reasons all those national parks are so cool is because you can get back to nature. You can get out there. You know, we were in the Grand Canyon a couple weeks ago. If you go out down into the bottom of the Grand Canyon, there's nobody standing in a bathing suit on the edge of the river with a tripod taking selfies of themselves, you know, influencers. And if the kind of people that these videos will be attracting are those people that are going to stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon or on the top of in Yosemite, the big waterfall, and take a picture where they're, you know, almost going to fall off and kill themselves, or actually kill themselves. Yeah, right. But so, you know, some of these parks are very crowded already. And I'm not sure that adding more people there is going to make that a better experience for the people that are going.
But you know what? It's giving some awareness, which, you know, you can't.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
they'll donate.
Okay, well, they'll public service announcement. If you're going to go to a national park, take some selfies, but don't become a social media expert in a national park. Let everybody else enjoy nature. Don't, you know, we were at a park in Austin recently, and this guy came down the trail blasting music on his iPhone. It's like, you ever heard of AirPods, man? But there's people that are out there, they think that, you know, that's what you can do in nature. No, let everybody else enjoy it too. But you go out there and enjoy it.
They're there to listen to the sounds of nature.
That's right. Enjoy the peace and the quiet.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what nature is, being in nature is really all about. Have you used ChatGPT yet today?
Yeah, I did this morning.
Yeah, we use it quite a bit in our business, don't we?
It has cut down on some of the, I said mundane, like thinking aspects of it, but I still...
You made my point.
Yeah, but I mean, I still do my own research, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot.
I have a story that I've written here, and it's called, Is AI Making Us Stupid? And there's actually quite a bit of evidence.
I am stupid.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of evidence right now that people are relying so much on ChatGPT or any kind of AI that it is actually taking away our ability to think for ourselves. So here's a couple of statistics for you. 70% of faculty that were surveyed, so teachers and professors, say that they have witnessed or found evidence that 70% of their students are using AI to cheat on their assignments. Yeah. 45% of the students that they surveyed admitted to using AI, and 25% said, I've used it during tests, and 80% say that they have used it to help save time or boost their grades.
But can't they, I guess when they're copying and pasting, they can figure out, there's programs that they can figure out,
yeah,
right?
That's kind of where my story's going to end up, is that now faculties are starting to use these tools where they can identify, they're called AI-powered plagiarism detection software. So you can take somebody's whatever project that they worked on that they submitted to you and plug it into this plagiarism detection software, and it will tell you if that person wrote it or if it was generated by AI.
I heard that some of them aren't really real accurate though, but you know, one of the things that they were saying that they can tell if somebody wrote you a text message and it has a dash in it, they said, oh, that's one of the telltale signs of being ChatGPT, but I have
seen that too.
But I use dashes all the time.
Well, so but you'll say like, "Hi, Steve, dash," right? This is, I've noticed it too when I've used it. Somebody will send me a long email and I'll put it in ChatGPT and say, "Summarize this for me," and it will do, you know, it will do a dash between two, like. Pro forma, it'll do pro dash forma. You know, it'll put them in there where you wouldn't normally use them. So, but I think it's interesting. They're saying that students are actually the ability for them to think for themselves and be creative in their writing and the projects that they work on is starting to go away, and it could cause us some problems in the future.
I can tell you that when I was in high school, if ChatGPT was around and it could do my algebra homework, I would have been all over that. Because do I use algebra today? No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I know. Yeah. But. You know, it's sort of like when we were in school and the teacher would say, okay, I need you to figure out this math problem. And you would, you know, when I was growing up, that was when calculators first came on. I go, well, I could do that on a calculator. Like, well, yes, you can, but I want you to know how it's done so that you can work through the process if you don't have a calculator. It's kind of like, what if there's something happens and you don't have ChatGPT to rely on, and you have to send your boss a very important email? You
don't know how to do it.
Yeah, you don't know how to do it.
I've always had a love of creative writing, and so I feel like.
And you're very good at that.
Because I'm just a smart aleck.
And ChatGPT will never be able to duplicate that.
No, I don't think so. But it's also like almost like the therapeutic process. If you're writing something down, you know, just working your way through the story. I think it's funnier. I think it's funnier if it comes from my version.
It does. It definitely does. I bet you if you wrote something real, like if I wrote something real dry and plain and I gave it to you and you rewrote it in your style, it would be so much more entertaining than if I plugged it into ChatGPT and said, make this fun and interesting.
Yeah.
What would come out of ChatGPT would, it wouldn't be, yeah, it would be kind of stale, but yours would be, you know, real interesting and fun. So anyway, that's something to keep in mind here as we go into the future, that just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. It is important to, especially if you want to get into a business where you have to write and do reports and things, that you know how to do those yourself and not rely on AI. So
I wanted to ask you, I asked you to do some research on this because I've been seeing the rumblings about it, and you know, we're getting into the retirement kind of age. It's like on the horizon. And property taxes. And I think you have until Friday to protest your property taxes.
Yeah, that'll actually be it'll be before when this episode comes out. For those of us on for those of you on Instagram Live, you have until Friday to protest your property taxes.
So Florida is coming out with this proposal to do away somewhat with property taxes.
Yeah.
And they were saying that the biggest cuts could be in schools and police and so on and so on. And you and I were talking about that. It's like, well, where is that money going to come from? And I was like, sales tax. But what did you find out about this? What exactly?
So the story is Governor DeSantis in Florida has he's brought about a plan to possibly do away with property tax completely in the state of Florida. So he talked about this in February. It was either February or early March. And since then, he's actually backed off of it. I guess they did some more analysis of it and found out that it probably wouldn't work in the long run. But one of the biggest things that, you know, DOJ, which has looked at our federal government and has found literally billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud and waste. Well, DeSantis is saying the same thing about Florida, that there are lots of the taxing entities that have massive amounts of fraud. Their budgets always go up. They're always increasing. And he's saying, instead of you guys always saying we need a tax increase, how about you get your fiscal house in responsibility or fiscal house in order and stop spending as much? And
I think, novel idea.
You know what? I think as taxpayers, isn't that what everybody wants? Is just use our money in the most most economical way. If you have three people doing a job, could 2 people do that and you cut one of those positions? Or, you know, instead of expanding a program every year, year after year, have you ever heard somebody that works in a state or local government that says, got to spend our budget or else next year they'll take it away? That should be done away with completely.
Yeah.
That is maddening to me. You're going to spend money just so that they continue to give it to you next year. And that happens from the federal government right on down to the city. And, you know, in every layer. So, but anyway, Governor DeSantis has pulled back on this, and now he's pushing for something similar to what's been going on in Texas, which is a reduction in the overall property taxes. What he's come up with, the last thing I read was he's hoping to save people $1,000 a year on their property taxes. But I don't believe in Florida, their property taxes are as high as they are for us here in Texas. So that $1,000 may be percentage-wise a substantial reduction.
It definitely is going to cut into your retirement budget when you're looking at you own your home outright.
And that was one of the first things he said is, do you really own your home if you pay off the mortgage and every year you have to pay another bill or else the state will come and take your house or the county will come and take your house? You don't really own it. You're just renting it from the government at that point. I think that's really true. So the original plan he had was, when you close on your house, you pay some kind of a sales tax or transaction tax.
And maybe all your homesteads, maybe your homestead, but then like investment properties are different. So I can see investment properties, commercial properties, you're still paying property taxes, but your homestead.
My biggest takeaway about all this is that we are, as a country, we are finally starting to look at the fact that all of these taxing entities take this money from us and do God knows what with it every year. It's like there doesn't seem to be any accountability. So now we need to start looking at that, holding those entities holding their feet to the fire and making them spend our money in the most efficient way, because the trajectory that we're on is not sustainable. If Texas keeps raising property taxes the way they've been raising, people will have to start selling and moving out. That's not good for Texas.
And like half of our clients are moving to Arkansas. And I don't want to go to Arkansas.
Yeah, and you know what? And there's a perfect example. Somebody that had $13,000 a year in property tax here in Texas moved to Arkansas, and they're into a bigger home on a lake, and their property tax is $1,600 a year.
Don't make me move to Arkansas.
Yeah, don't make me move to Arkansas.
Don't, please, please, please. You know what season it is right now? Not like the weather.
Allergy season.
No, it's not. It's graduation season.
Yeah.
It's empty nest season
Aww.
for a lot of people. And a lot of people are going to start experiencing this. I think graduation is next Friday, right before Memorial Day. So traffic is going to get really nice in the middle of downtown.
For about 3 months. Can't wait.
I ran across something, Steve, and I thought this was, I don't know, it really touched my heart about getting older. And it was this guy talking about, what if 80-year-old self came back to now, to where you are now, even though it's, 20 years away, or for you maybe next week, but right around the corner. And what would your 80...
You young whippersnapper.
Get off my lawn. What would the 80-year-old self say to you? And so I had this like little poem I wanted to read, but then there were some questions that I had for you, like really kind of eye-opening. Sometimes I already feel old, not in my bones, though they creak more than they used to, but in the silence of the house. The kids are grown, married, living their big, beautiful lives. I'm proud, of course, so proud, but some days I walk past their empty rooms and wonder where all that noise went, where all I went.
Yeah.
I'm still needed, just in different ways now. That was proof last week.
Yeah.
And I'm still working, still dreaming, I guess. But lately I've been asking myself, what if I could fast forward 20 more years and come back for a day? What would my 80-something-year-old self say to me now in this strange, quiet middle? It was an interesting, like the quiet middle.
Yeah.
Honey, you think this is old? Wait till your knees sound like bubble wrap. You're not old. You're just a little weathered, like the porch swing we couldn't bear to throw out. She'll remind me that there's still magic in becoming, that just because the house is quiet doesn't mean the story is over. In fact, she's probably saying the best chapters are still ahead, the ones where I travel just because I can, fall in love again with the same man, or maybe even a new version of myself. Sleep in or stay up late, dance barefoot in the kitchen with a grandbaby on my hip. And before she left, she'd tuck a strand of silver hair behind her ear and whisper, "You'll miss this version of yourself, too. So live her well, because what a difference 20 years could make."
Wow.
So, okay, so here's some general reflections, right, about, this is kind of for both of us.
Okay.
Do you still wait for permission to rest, or have you finally claimed it? Remember when we were younger, we thought rest was a sign of weakness?
Isn't that true? Like, I got to be at the office at 6. I got to beat everybody into the office. I got to be there at 6, and I'm going to be the last one to leave. And yeah, you wore that as a badge of honor. Now I'm like, no, I'm going home.
But if you take a nap, I mean, are you like, okay, that's me recharging, or is that me feeling lazy?
I never, well, I don't know when that happened, but I never feel like that's a waste of time. I feel like that's my body saying, dude, you need to get some sleep.
I always felt like, especially when the kids were younger, if I had to take a nap in the middle of the day, I had to either have the dishwasher, the washing machine, something going, because it was like, even though I was resting, something in the house couldn't rest. Okay, here, this was an important one. Are you living or just maintaining? Gosh, I think I'm at the point in my life where I'm living.
I think that's true.
I think while you're raising kids, right?
I think it's kind of a mix, though, too. Because there are days where I wake up in the morning and I'm going 100 miles an hour until the minute I put my head down. And like Holly and I ask each other every night when she comes home or I come home, did anything good happen to you today? And some days I struggle. Yes, there's a lot of things that happen. None of them are monumental. Did I just check that day off my list? Did anything really fantastic happen? No. But then I have other days where I wake up and I go, man, at the end of the day, what a great day. That was a good day. That was one for the record books. All these wonderful things happen. So it's kind of a mix for me.
This one really kind of stopped me in my tracks, this question. Have you forgiven yourself yet for not knowing back then what you know now? Think about that. That is, wow, right? Like,
yeah, I don't struggle with that. I know that, and I made some big, big mistakes in my life, but those are that's just part of living, is that you do things well and you do things real crappy, and, it's, That's just part of life.
Raising kids, I would tell my daughter, especially, I was like, I've been a 13-year-old girl, but I've never raised a 13-year-old girl. I'm literally making this up as I go along. I'm making this up.
Yeah.
So here was one like gender specific. Like if I were to ask myself, have you stopped shrinking yourself to make everyone else feel more comfortable?
Oh, you don't have any problem with that at all. In fact, Michelle is a giant in that regard.
Like, no.
Yeah. You know, I would say, looking back now that I'm a little older, when I hear people, I think it was Carlisle, was Carlisle turned 40 recently? Somebody turned 40 and they said, oh, you know, this is a big one for me. I'm really getting old. And I thought, you're going into the best years of your life. It's like your kids are going to start to be more independent. Maybe they'll go off to college. You'll have more time for yourself. You still have a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm for life. The 40s and 50s are good.
It is good. How about this one, Steve? This was to you specifically. Are you still chasing success, or have you figured out what peace feels like?
Oh, boy, that's a good one, Michelle. I still chase something. I don't know exactly what it is. I see people that have more than what I have, and what I see now that I didn't see when I was younger is all of the crap that comes with, you know, the big fancy house on the lake. Yeah, that's wonderful when you go there for a party and it's all beautiful and clean, but what you don't see in the background is the $50,000 a year in property taxes and the $1,000 a month you pay to take care of the lawn or have it cleaned, or, you know, the $2,000 a year electric bill. All those things are
more money, more problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I see that. The other thing that I have realized, no matter how old you are, inside your head, you still feel young.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
The only time I don't feel young is when I look at myself in the mirror. In my head right now, I'm still the same 20-year-old kid full of, you know, energy and enthusiasm and
Piss
life.
And vinegar?
Yeah, but when I see myself, I go, oh, okay, there's a little more wear and tear there now than there used to be. But I don't care how old you get. I think you still feel like you can do it all.
I was on the floor with my grandbaby the other day, and I tried to get up just like I would when I was 20-something years old. I had her mama, and I was like, this has proved to be a little bit more difficult than I remember.
Can I get a hand, please?
Speaking of, one of the other questions I had was, do you remember to keep loving your body even as it has changed? And you and I had this conversation with this yesterday. It's like the men and women have different perspectives about this. Your feeling was that women, for the most part, and I don't know if I agree with this 100%, but that women care more about what other people think. But I don't know. I mean,
I didn't necessarily mean that. I mean, you guys are more focused on appearance, maybe even what you think of your appearance.
Well, think because of what is just shoved down your throat by commercials and media and you know, whatever else. But like the female body goes through so many changes, especially if you're a mother. Yeah. And your body changes in ways that you could never, ever comprehend. Sure. I mean, I had this discussion with somebody who had a dog and thought having a dog is the same thing as having a child. It's not. I'm sorry. You know, you can leave your dog and go to the grocery store for 3 hours, but you can't leave your child at home and go to the grocery store. But I feel like you know, women, we struggle more because I think our bodies go through a lot more changes than men do. Hormonally, childbirth, whatever.
I'll agree with that. What I was trying to, and I probably didn't say it very articulately, but I think women focus on the beauty that they have and how that could be in their mind fading, which is funny because men don't see that in women as much as women see that themselves. I think for men, though, we don't focus so much on what how our bodies are changing so that they're not as attractive as they used to be. We focus more on, I used to be able to lift that.
The physical aspect.
Yeah, without hurting my back. I used to be able to climb up on a ladder, no problem, and walk around on the roof of the house. Now I'm a little unsteady. Or I used to be able to go run 50 miles, and now that takes me 4 hours longer than it used to. We focus more on how our body breaks down and doesn't allow us to do the things that we have enjoyed in our life. So, and the other thing I'll say about that is, and Chuck Lamont told me this, as you age, you know your body's breaking down and you expect it, but it's worse than you expect. It's like damn, I thought my knees hurt before, but they hurt worse now. It's like it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and you just have to keep adjusting from there.
You got to keep figuring it out. Bourbon helps. No,
yeah, I know.
Okay, here's my last question, and this was I thought this was a really good one. It was really, really good. Are you still afraid of being vulnerable, or did you finally learn to share what's really going on inside? And I think that even just me working for you for the last 10 years, you really have opened up more. And do you think that's more of age, or do you think it's experience? What do you think has allowed you to open?
I think it's a mix of all of that.
Or I think it's wear you down.
Yeah, you wore me down. I think it's a mix of age. It's a mix of experience. It's a mix of, the stuff that fills your brain when you're younger starts to go away, and it gets filled with, you care, making sure the people that are around you know that you care about them and that you love them and want the best for them. And I tell my kids, like every time I see them, how proud I am of them and that I love them. And I didn't do that as much when I was younger. So
I think for me, like, I've always kind of been this way. I don't know how else not to be. Yeah. But the vulnerability is, especially around other people that I didn't know, I'm more comfortable in my own skin than I ever have been. And it really doesn't, I would say, I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me if somebody doesn't like me. It doesn't bother me as much, shall I say, because I also now I look at it from a different perspective. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, what was that person's life experience to make them react to me like this? And that's how I've been trying, the older I've gotten, is to be less reactive and to try to understand, okay, that maybe that particular outburst or that whatever somebody directed at me or you and I, whether it was client or personal or whatever, it's like, okay, what was going on in their life that made them act like it was so out of character, for a certain person,
or it's really obvious that it wasn't something you did. It's something they're struggling with, and you're the outlet. You're the thing that they can take it out on. Yeah. I'm better about that. I'm like you for the most part. Like when people give us a bad review or somebody gets mad at us for something we did, that doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but occasionally there are some...
they can eat at you a little bit, right?
Yeah, we've had somebody that I have had the highest amount of respect for, and we've been involved in a dealing with him, and he went kind of off the deep end, and I pretty much have lost all respect, and that's been a little bit hard for me because I liked having that respect for that person. So... so sometimes it bothered me, and sometimes it
was a hard week last week, wasn't it? There was a lot of people that, like, I felt like, I don't know what was going on. Was it a full moon? Like, there was just some weird stuff.
I know, it was like, it was almost exponential. It was like, okay, that happened, and then that happened, and then that happened, and then by the end of the week, I was like, that was like 2 months worth of difficult circumstances we had in 5 days.
Yeah, it was insane.
By the way, we handled every one of those like a champ. We did really well through that whole week because there were a lot of obstacles, but we knocked them all out of the park.
Well, I just want to let you know that I made it to Dallas in rush hour traffic in 3 hours.
Oh, jeez.
In 3 hours. So, yeah, my
And everybody lived to tell the tale.
Everybody, well, almost. I was so exhausted. I was so exhausted.
There you go. There's an aging thing. When you were 25, you'd have been able to do that no problem. But now,
everything to happen on the same week where it was just piling up and piling up and piling up, and it's just so. Anyways, we made it through.
We
Congratulations!
Got it through. Yes, we did. Good job, Michelle. So, hey, we're going to take a little break and get Alice Hutchison in here, who is an author, published author, and hear all her thoughts on her 9th grade life and what she's got going on. So, sit